Got him! Come on! And how about that for an absolutely classic common carp? Just over 36 pounds. 36 pounds of gold, I would say. An absolute beauty. And this was taken on a Combi rig, but a special one done just for Gigantica. So we're going to put this fella back and show you how to tie it. This is my version of the classic Combi rig, called a Combi rig because it's a combination of materials. So we've got braid at the end and then a stiff boom, and in this case it's a mouth trap boom. Normally used for making chod rigs, but in this case we've got it as the long stiff section. And the beauty of this rig is it pushes everything away from the lead. So when it comes to rest, it just pushes it out like that because of the stiffness, and then you've got the softness at the end, so when the fish sucks it in, it lifts up at the end and catches hold really quickly. So you're effectively fishing with a 1-inch hook link, but it's like 8 or 9 inches long because it reacts so quickly because of that stiffness. So to tie it, that's the problem that people have, connecting those two materials. The knot I use is called an Albright knot, very simple to do. You just make a loop in the stiff material, go through the loop with the braided material, in this case it's 50-pound armour cord, through the loop and then round both bits of stiff material 7 times. And then back up over the top 3 times and then through the loop again the same way you went at the start. If you go the other way and tighten it down, it will tighten really funny and line will kink out an angle and it won't be as strong. So if it's both through the same way, then just tease the braid up and then pull it tight and it'll be a really small knot. It's nice and neat, just cut the tag ends off and it's very, very strong as well. Then once I've done that, then I tie the hook on. And the way I can get that so short, that's another problem that people have, is I'm not tying a knotless knot, I'm tying a whipping knot. So I'm going through the eye of the hook towards the back of the hook, turning the hook around and then making a big loop underneath the hook. With the front of the loop, I'm wrapping around the hook once and then again and down and down and down towards the eye. And then the little tag end there basically pulls up tight and that tightens the knot. Don't pull it fully tight because you won't be able to move it on the hook. Slide it down to the eye and then pull it tight and you end up with a short section of braid that's probably 2 or 3 centimetres long, something like that. And then I slide on a small size rig ring. Then the hair just goes through the rig ring, that creates a little bit of a loop. Go back through that loop, that creates another loop, back through that. You're effectively tying a simple granny knot. Pull it up tight on the rig ring and that just locks it in place. And then I just tie the loop for the hair. So I've got probably, I don't know, 5mm, 8mm between the bait and the hook. Don't want it too far away, but also you don't want it touching as well because that hook needs to be able to turn and catch hold. And then a bit of shrink tube goes on and then I'll just shrink that over a kettle at an acute angle. You've got to use barbless hooks on here. So if it's at an acute angle like that, it hooks right on the edge of the mouth and it stays there because you've got a little bit of springiness to that. It just keeps the hook in position. Then you put a little bit of dark matter putty over the knot just to neaten it up, and that again helps everything to lay flat on the bottom, so it's much harder for the fish to see. I mean, this mouth trap material is really well camouflaged anyway because it's clear with a little green tint and that almost disappears on the bottom. And then at the other end, it is quite a stiff material, so it's not particularly easy to work with. If you just do a 2-turn half blood knot, poke it back through again, wet it, pull the tag end up to virtually tighten the knot, and then put your rig puller through and pull it really tight and it locks itself down. Some people burn the end there to stop it pulling through, but I've never ever had it slip. So that is the rig in its entirety. That's what I'm using on Gigantica. If you're boilie fishing on the continent, you're using lots of 20mm boilies and the bottom's nice and clean, maybe with a little tiny bit of weed, that is what I would recommend. And then to scale that down for the UK, or if you're using smaller boilies, it's exactly the same combination. So I've got a stiff boom, in this case it's 20-pound IQ2, and then I've got a soft bit at the end, in this case Supernatural. Basically because this is not as stiff as the mouth trap, then the braid bit needs to be not so stiff as well. So if you put mouth trap with Supernatural, you can get tangles because you go from very, very stiff to very soft, and that's why I put mouth trap with armour cord. In this case, IQ2 in 20-pound with 25-pound Supernatural is perfect. Same pattern of hook, that's a captor curve, this time it's a size 4, same rig ring, same little bit of putty. It's a slow sinking bait, just like the bigger rig I just shown you. So that basically the hook will sit on the bottom and the bait will just hover above. So it goes up into the mouth really easily. That soft section will just lift in to the mouth. The hook is allowed to turn and catch hold because of the softness, and bang, you've got him. And then at the other end, I've tied this one, rather than the 2-turn half blood knot, I've used a 4-turn half blood knot. And again, I've tightened the knot with the tag end first to make sure I've wet it, then pull it tight. And that just basically causes a little bit of room for the knot to tighten down and not kink the hook link. So you see there, it's perfect on there. It's a little trick I learnt from Gaz Fairham. Tighten the tag end first and then pull the knot tight, and you don't get that kink. So that's my sort of bottom bait, if you like, slow sinking bottom bait version for smaller baits. And then if I'm going to fish it as a pop-up, we've got a piece of the new IB plastic corn on there. I've scaled the hook down again because I've got a smaller hook bait, so I've got a size 8 wide gape there. 15 pound IQ2, 25 pound supernatural again, and that little bit of putty there now acts as a counterbalance, so it's actually going to sit like that on the bottom. So when it comes to rest, it pushes the whole lot away, and boom, it just sits like that. So the hook link's already straight, the fish only has to move a tiny bit and you've hooked him. So that's how to tie a combi rig. They're really good for anti-tangle, very, very difficult to see, and they make the hook turn really quickly. How about that for a character fish? Absolutely stunning. 37 1/4. Well chuffed with that one. And that's another one taken on that real stiff mouth trap to armour called Combi. It's absolutely nailing them. Combi rigs, done.